You're watching Plants and Politics with Gina Bonanno-Lemos. If you're ready to hear the truth about both sides of the aisle, what's really going on in America, and how big money interests prevent change to keep you sick, broke, and desperate, then play on. Welcome to Plants and Politics. This is Gina. I have such a great guest today. She is a personal friend. I'm proud to say that. Paige Parsons-Roache. And let me just give you a little background on her. She has a very impressive resume. She is known as Eco-Vegan Paige Parsons-Roache. She is the producer and booker for JaneUnchained News Network, which is, of course, Jane Velez-Mitchell's show, which is how we met. And she brings awareness of sustainability, equality, and justice for all beings through her cooking segments, not only on Jane's Lunch Break Live show, but also on her new show, which I highly recommend everybody check out. And she's going to talk about that today, which is called Plant-Based In The Burbs. So welcome, Paige. It's so great to see you. It's been far too long. And can you tell us a little bit more about the show and what was the impetus for you starting it?
Okay, great. Well, hi everyone, and so wonderful to see you, Gina. And just a little background on how we met when you did that amazing conference with so many plant-based leaders and doctors and influencers in the plant-based space. It was such a highlight of my year. Was that 2018? Yes. It really was powerful. And I thank you so much for including me in that journey. It was amazing. And I imagine people can circle back and get some of that awesome content that's available for people. So yeah. So I went vegan almost 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago. So leading into plant-based in the burbs. My daughter went vegan at 13. And when your child goes vegan, you get curious, I feel. And at 13, she was very convicted about animals. And I thought, she's going to be a veterinarian. She loves animals. That's so great. Good for her. Yay, Caitlin. I went to the store and I bought things thinking, well, there's no meat in it. And I'd bring it home and she'd flip it over and look at the instructions. And at 13, she said, Mom, there's milk. Mom, there's cheese. Mom, there's casein. Mom, there's gelatin. All these things that I never really thought about. And obviously milk and cheese and eggs, I kind of thought was in there, somewhere in there, but I was not looking at the ingredients. And so I said, you need to come shopping with me. So we started shopping together, cooking together, and learning together. And finally, I had seen something at a local restaurant. They had information about Cowspiracy, a film. And I said, I'm going to watch that film. It's about the environment. I'm an environmentalist. I'm going to go watch that film. So we sat down. I said, will you watch it with me, Caitlin? We sat down together, and within seriously, like 5 minutes, I turned to her and I said, I'm going 100% vegan. I'm vegan.
Wow.
And because right at the beginning, they talk about the amount of water that it takes on this planet to sustain meat, dairy, and eggs, the whole industry. And I was that mom that was turning off the shower on my teenage son who was taking beyond 10-minute showers, like 5 to 10 minutes. It was 5 minutes up.
Yeah.
We were in a drought. I live in the San Fernando Valley of California, and it is the hottest of hot. We are the hottest in California. We're triple digits, and we were told we had to no longer have grass when we first moved into our houses. We're all around the same time. We could no longer have grass because we couldn't give it water. So we had to go with the faux grass or no grass. And so we were making lots of transitions. So when I saw that, I thought, wait a minute. I could go vegan. I could go plant-based vegan and then save the water of which I'm getting, wow, the light bulb went off. And then the other thing is that I had been promoting so much about plastic pollution, which I am still huge about that. And I realized, though, I was fighting for the animals to live, not to have a straw, like the fish and everything, but then I would go and eat my sushi. So I realized I was a walking contradiction. I was a hypocrite. And here I was sitting next to my 13-year-old daughter with a 15-year-old son at the time, and the light bulb went off that this is their planet, the planet of which I am leaving for my children, and the legacy of which I'm leaving my children and their children, my grandkids. I hope to be a grandmother someday, that I need to make my changes now. And that was nearly 5 years ago. So that's how it started. And I was working out at the same time with this great fitness gal, Sherry Johnson, and she went plant-based right around the same time. And we started comparing stories and this and that. And I said, wouldn't it be fun? She's African-American. She's tall and thin. And I'm 5'3" and more stocky and fit that way. Mm-hmm. And we said, let's do something together. We're quirky, we're fun. So we started doing just some Instagram lives. This was, 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then I fell into the opportunity to work with Jane Mitchell 2.5 years ago. And so now we have, it started out as one, and now we're going with another. We're launching it today and then next week as well. So it's called Plant-Based in the Burbs, because we both live in the suburbs, and yet we were raised differently, but very similarly as well.
Oh, that's so awesome. And it's so great that you were open-minded enough that you weren't one of those parents who, because I hear of so many parents that their kids go vegan first and they freak out. Oh my gosh, you don't know what you're doing. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to harm I have family members like that, and they just don't get it. And they're just too shut off, too close-minded. So good for you that you actually took the time and were open-hearted enough and said, yeah, let me take a look at it and let me support you in what you're doing. So,
and if I may add something to that, because I really have thought about this. I have a friend that her daughter wanted to drop meat off her plate. Her mom said, no, you need the protein. And I really do believe every parent is coming from a place of wanting the child to have the best. So they're coming from their information database. Mm-hmm. And as a parent, you just want what's right for your child. So when your child comes to you and says that, what normally I think will happen is we go, oh my gosh, my child's going to starve. Oh my gosh, it's going to hurt their development. And so much research has been done now that you can Google and you can find out where protein comes from. In plant-based, you can find out that it's actually way more beneficial for a body to stay off of cow's milk and animal milk, and cheeses and yogurts and ice creams and so forth. So I just feel like in my heart, when I really tapped in to what other parents must be feeling, I said, Caitlin, you need to come shopping with me. It wasn't all perfect. Let me tell you, it sounded kind of perfect, but no, I was kind of mad at her. I'm like, you need to come shopping with me then, because I'm buying you the wrong stuff,
Yeah.
So I do want to say that I think every parent comes from wanting the best for their child. And so then, yeah.
And I talk on that too at events. And I explain to parents, if I know parents, almost 100% of parents, if you ask them, they would die for their children, right? They would step in front of a moving bus for their child. They would take a bullet for their child without even thinking, no problem.
Yes.
And I tell them, if you understood what you're doing to your child with the food you're giving them, with the animal foods that you're giving them, you would gladly relinquish them to social services, because you would understand that you're literally killing them. Mm. And I know that parents don't want to do that. Of course, they want the best for their kids. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting parents to make that paradigm shift and understand that everything we thought we knew, we need to unlearn and realize it was completely backwards.
Absolutely. And there,
Yeah.
as we both know, there's so many great doctors and research now. Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, the whole group Switch for Good,
Mhm.
talks about switching over to plant-based milk, and researchers and studies and so forth. It's amazing. Dr. Milton Mills, I just think of we're so blessed at this time to have so much information backing going vegan, backing being plant-based, whole foods plant-based.
Yeah. And
So I
it's
hope,
so much easier now than it was even 10 years ago. I mean, I went plant-based, I think about 9 years ago now, and it's night and day from where it was. So there's just no reason not to, you know. Um, so tell me more specifically about your show. What are you guys going to be doing? Is it cooking? Is it like a little bit of everything? Is it, what do you guys plan on doing with it? What's the direction you want to take it?
well, we actually want to take people through the ABC. So our target market is people who are basically maybe just tapping one little foot in the tent, you
Mhm.
know, interested in the lukewarm waters of what is plant-based. We're welcoming anybody who is at all intrigued by what plant-based means. They've thought about it. They don't even realize that they're probably mostly centered around a plant-based diet, and that they might be afraid of the word vegan. So we're leading them into the tent. We're taking them through the basics in the first 4 shows, and we're guiding them through, holding their hand, saying, we
Awesome.
can do this with you. We were once there just 4.5 years ago. And so basically, here's what we're going to be talking about: trading out what your standards are, what your comfort foods are. We're going to take you through how to flip those, the how-tos.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
yeah, in
That's
every area too, because we're going to dive in deeper as well. We're going to get into cosmetics, clothing, fashion, food. Is you want to start with people in their heart, which is the food, right?
Mhm.
And then we'll branch out from there. But everybody eats at least 3 meals a day, and snacks too. And holidays are very essential and centered around food, gatherings with friends and things like that. So we want people to feel empowered when they go in the kitchen, and they know what to do. They've got their go-tos.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, because that's the biggest issue that I hear from people is I just don't know where to start. I don't know what to do, which is why I created my event and my training programs and stuff. So that's so awesome that you guys are making it so available to the masses and really hand-holding people. So yeah, so I guess you would say you're starting off for people who are veg curious.
Absolutely, exactly. Or they've heard of the word plant-based, and one of the things I like to ask people is, do you ever have a smoothie and use a plant-based milk? That's plant-based. You're not going to throw a piece of chicken in the smoothie.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
not going to throw, any other meat products in there, but you might do your milk as a base. But most people don't realize they'll eat a salad and they'll leave off the animal product. They'll just naturally, it'll come with nuts, and it's their favorite salad. Little did they know.
Right. Or beans or.
Right, beans, or a variety of, they'll have a lentil soup, and they don't realize, that's 100% plant-based.
Yeah.
So I think it's acknowledging people where they're at, and then inviting them. So we will have a little cooking. We'll have some guests. We're going to have products to share with people, to give them examples of things. We're going to show people some 1, 2, 3s, easy breezy recipes you can do quickly. A nice plethora of a mix. Keep people interested. And we have a lot of fun. We're very spontaneous, and we kind of riff off each other. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, where can people watch this? Is this on your own channel, or is this streaming through Jane's?
Yes.
So it's through
Yes,
Jane's.
it'll be on Jane Unchained through
Okay.
Facebook, and we're going to take it from there. We'll start there, and then we'll lead from there. We love the name. It was really fun to create that name.
Yeah. Oh,
So we're starting there, and then and like I said, we'll take it from there, but it should end up on YouTube as well. So.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, lately, I've seen you posting more and talking more, and we're both members of a group that's Vegans for Black Lives Matter. So I kind of wanted to touch on that and just ask you, because I've seen a shift in you, and you've mentioned yourself that there's things that just kind of come into your awareness, things that have, come into your consciousness that you weren't aware of before. And I've always said that there's a lot of overlap between people not seeing, speciesism and racism, not seeing all animals as animals, and differentiating between our companion animals versus factory farm animals. Just as, people will keep a parakeet as a pet, but then they eat chicken at dinner. It's just such a disconnect. And I was one of those people for 41 years. So I think there's a lot of overlap. And I think until people can see all living beings as the same as living beings, that all are valuable, we're never going to see true equality. So can you just share with everybody what exactly were maybe some of your aha or light bulb moments, and what is it that you didn't know maybe even just a month ago that you know now?
Okay, yes. So I attended a beautiful panel that was at UCLA 4 years ago called Vegan People of Color, I believe is what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a minority walking in the door. I was curious. I pay attention to what events come up in Los Angeles area. So I like to attend, as many variety of things to understand different conversations, right? So there was a woman by the name of AFCO, and she started speaking about white privilege and white supremacy. And as she was speaking, I was getting angrier and angrier at white people that I feel that are supremacists, that are mean, purposefully malicious, angry, dangerous. And I thought, I cannot relate to that whatsoever. And then when she said white privilege, it clicked that by being born in this time of age on the soil called America, in white skin, mm-hmm. I got to see in that moment that I, by nature of being born this person, I am a racist as well as a white privileged person. Now, I have recently come to the conversation of being a racist, and that I'm sweating as I say it, because I can imagine anyone out there listening is saying, oh my God, she's a horrible person. And the most recent revelation is I have had the journey of learning about Dr. Robin DiAngelo, who wrote a book called White Fragility, mm-hmm. Why it's hard for white people to talk about racism. And she breaks out that by being born in white skin in this era, that by nature of that, we come with our genetics, we come with our heritage, we come with our history. And being 53 years old, born in 1966, right? That all that comes with me is everything that's happened before that's led me to this time, which is a revolution. And by owning that this is who I am by nature, that I have a choice how I behave, we all do, mm-hmm. right? But owning it versus being somebody who's going to reject that I'm a racist, somebody who's going to defend, no, I'm not a racist, no, I'm not privileged, is actually pushing away the opportunity for healing. Mm-hmm. Healing for African Americans, for Black people, people of color, and white people as well. Because there is a healing when you own that. So I am in the process. I am nowhere, I have no answers, I have more questions actually. However, what I chose to do from that point 4 years ago is I dipped in the waters. I have various Black friends. I turned to them and asked them questions, and I've always been concerned, like, am I going to say the wrong thing? Which I'm sure everyone's feeling right now. On both sides, not sides. I don't even want to say that, but even saying that makes me feel horrible that I would even say that, right? There's no sides. We're all human. So the journey of which I've chose to dive in weeks ago, is to unpack and dismantle my personal racism that has been hidden by blind spots. You can't see the blind spots until you see them. And then they come around, they go, oh, and you're like, I didn't realize I was doing that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize I was acting that way. I didn't know that if I ask my African-American friends, what should I do? Tell me, guide me, that's exhausting for them right now. It's exhausting to ask a Black person from a white perspective, what should I do? Tell me the best things to do. That's exhausting to them. Mm-hmm. Right now, the best thing that I can do, and I'm going to speak for me and we, is do what I call the work. And there's plenty of people posting, and to the drive and the pull for me, and I'm going to say this is how I was raised. Brush it under the rug. Look good at any cost. Mm-hmm. Show up, present yourself as put together. We're not going to talk about those things. We don't even think those things exist, right? Mm-hmm. We're kind people, therefore we're not racist.
Yeah.
So that has been a journey by which I have started. I am not even in the middle anywhere. I feel like I'm at the beginnings, and I feel it's my duty to speak up because I have chosen to dive in. I'm not judging anyone who's not diving in. However, I do find myself finding allies, other white people who are choosing to dive in, and align myself there. And I'm open for anyone coming to me. I'm an open door. I'm an open book, named Paige, for people to come. I'm not going to be judging anyone if they're just starting out or this wakes them up and they have a moment to say, okay, where do I start? Because when you say, where do I start? That means you're willing to dive deeper.
Yeah.
And it's very moving. It's very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I'm learning to be uncomfortable with the uncomfortable even. And I invite anyone to start now. And we don't need to apologize per se. That's the thing I'm feeling. There is apologies, yes. And yet the guilt, that's what I'm saying, is the guilt that we feel we need to apologize for is only going to keep us paralyzed. Mm-hmm. The ownership of that, this is how I was born, and I get to choose how I behave. So now I get to dismantle my behavior. Mm-hmm. And acting naive to something, when I see something, because it's just the way it's always been, that's where I get to take new action. Right. Like standing up that the police brutality is unacceptable, unjust. I get to stand up as a voice, as a white person, and stand up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if we look over history, if so many people in history in so many instances could have said, well, this is just the way it's always been. This is the way it's always going to be. I mean, Rosa Parks could have just said, well, I'll just sit in the back of the bus and that's the way it is. I mean, Martin Luther King could have just said, well, it's the way it always has been and nothing much we can do. So yeah, in talking with my friends of color, of which I have many, and I've been doing a series of interviews. I don't know if you're aware, but for the podcast and my YouTube channel, I've been interviewing people from our group on Facebook. And really, I think it just comes down to being a friend, defending as you would any friend, not just because of their color. I mean, that happens to be why they're being attacked and, the issue at hand, but it's just being a friend. It's just standing up for your friends and saying, I'm not going to let people hurt you. I'm going to stand in the gap. I think one of the most, it was like heartbreaking to read, but at the same time, I was like so proud of these people. I heard of people, I think it was down in Huntington Beach. They were at a Black Lives Matter protest recently. I could be wrong on the city, but it was definitely at a Black Lives Matter protest within the last couple of weeks. And it was a Black guy who posted the Twitter post or the tweet. And he said for him, it was like this surreal moment because the police started moving in and you could tell they were getting aggressive. And all of a sudden someone yelled something like white wall, like they kept repeating it, white wall, white wall, white. And all of the white people got in front of all the Black people. And the cops just like totally calmed down and backed off.
Wow.
So again, it was like, it just pisses me off, and it just like enrages me that it's that way. But that's what so many white people don't understand. That is white privilege. That is the epitome of white privilege. So you and I need to use that, I mean, it shouldn't exist, but while it does, we need to stand in it. We need to own it and use it for the good rather than how I feel it's been used for centuries for evil.
Yes.
So I applaud you for being, again, so open-hearted, so open-minded to really, and having the courage, because it really does take courage to look at yourself and go, am I playing a part in this? Do I say things? Do I do things? Do I allow things to happen that I don't speak up for, or against? And so many people are afraid to do that.
Well, and I recently had the fortune of being in a leadership workshop. And this is an example I just want to give people because I don't think we realize how often it happens. A friend of mine, we were on a Zoom and he was driving from Palm Springs. He's a person of color, mm-hmm. And we could not see him visually. He had his phone here. And I said, turn your light on, turn your car light on. And everybody was like, what? Da, 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 da. So I didn't get it. It didn't dawn on me. The next day I'm talking to my friend who's an African-American woman and I'm retelling the story. I said, I don't understand why everybody was getting so on me about this. And I said, I would have just turned the light on and when the police officer pulled me over, I would have explained I was on a Zoom call. She said, first of all, do you realize it's illegal to have your light on? And second of all, you have the privilege to get pulled over mm-hmm. and talk to a police officer.
Yeah.
And things that we take for granted, like walking outside our streets and jogging, yeah. Or brushing our hair if a police officer pulls us over, or talking ourselves out of a ticket. I've never been successful at that.
Yeah.
Well, one time I did get pulled over for drinking, and I should have been, and my friend took the seat, and I didn't get put in jail. This is before the DUI, when I was in college. Mm. I'm not proud of those moments. I'm unpacking those moments and feeling the sense of And the privilege is what we're it's not walking around with privilege, okay? This is what I want to make clear. If you walk around with privilege and you call, like the woman who called in Central Park,
Oh yeah.
call in on a Black person,
tried to weaponize the police. Yeah.
That's abusing. That's abusing. It's saying, and what I heard you say, Gina, on the front end of this part of this piece of this interview is you said we get to utilize and stand up our voices. We get to use the power of our voices, being white privilege, being people that we can step into a situation. I can walk into any hotel and use their bathroom. I can walk into any hotel and sit down and be on my phone and order a drink and not get questioned, right? I mean,
sit in Starbucks and wait for people who are coming to meet with you and not have the police called on you. I mean, our kids can go to the park and play with a toy gun and not get shot. I mean, so many instances.
Yeah, so many instances. And versus feeling guilty, this is what I want to make clear, because guilt paralyzes us. And then we don't do anything but sit in our guilt, which is avoidance of responsibility. And it's avoidance to know that we don't purposefully do this unless you do. And I'm thinking anybody who's listening to this doesn't purposely go out there to be somebody who to harm anyone. Or, you know, it's these ways of being that we're unaware of. And that's what we get to provide, is when each other in conversation with one another, in sharing with one another in moments like this, and listening to podcasts and taking the time out, which I appreciate anyone listening to this, that you're still here and you're listening, you know, yay, because that right there is an opening, that you'd be open to hearing what we're uncovering right now. Because again, Gina and I are on a journey. We're at the beginnings of this. I mean, this is a revolution of a powerful nature. When everyone's healed, when people of color, when Black lives do matter, when African Americans feel heard and listened to, then we can all feel at peace. It's not taking away from anyone's peace. It's adding to it. And if you think about the way in which, from listening to what I'm hearing from African Americans and people of color, they're sharing of how exhausting it is to be on the American soil right now. And for years, like their whole lives has been one obstacle after the next to even breathe and live and to feel like they have any freedom. There's barely moments of freedom, barely moments of feeling free.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the film, if you've seen the film 13th, that was a wide opener. That essentially we went from freeing slaves, freeing Black people, slaves, to putting them into prison, which is a systematic way of keeping slavery in place.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an eye-opener.
And I think guilt, the people who just want to be in their guilt and just stay there, that's, again, making it about yourself. That's, you know, feeling sorry for yourself in a way. And instead of saying, what can I do? How can I make this better? And even just acknowledging another person, whether they're Black, white, any race or nationality, all people really want is to be acknowledged, to have their pain acknowledged, to have their reality acknowledged, and not have it dismissed as fake news, or, oh, you must just be a wimp, or you need to man up, or, like comments I literally just read last night on Facebook. Oh, you need to get out of your victimhood. Nobody keeps slaves anymore today. I don't have anything to do with what happened hundreds of years ago. It's like, until you acknowledge someone's pain, they can't move forward. And until you acknowledge a problem exists, you can't change it. So how, there's just so many people, I think, like you said, they push it away, they swipe it under the rug. They don't want to deal with it, because dealing with it means acknowledging your part in it in some way. So
Gina, I just want to say one more thing is, look, I'm the first to sweep it under the rug. I'm the first to deny. I am. by way of, I was raised that way.
Yeah.
I was raised to keep it all together, honey, you know, and being raised with 3 older brothers, you know, there was like this, tough it up, don't be the baby sister, you know, get it together. And I love my mom. She passed away, as you know, both foster mothers. And she was the queen of, got the mask of motherhood, the mask of perfection. And it was very, very trying on her. It cost her, I would say, probably many years of her life holding that facade together.
Yeah, I think that generation too.
Yes,
definitely. Was very much that way. And I'm the total opposite. I mean, everybody knows I don't hold back. I just tell it like it is. So you're going to hear good, bad, or indifferent. I'm going to spew it, you know? But I just don't believe, I don't like to be phony, you know, and I know some people are just, they either don't want to burden other people. I think a lot of people come from that place. You know, they don't want to burden people with how hard things are, what's really going on. But then there's another set of people that just do want everything to seem perfect. And yeah, I'm just like,
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, life's not perfect. No one is perfect. And yeah, so. But yeah, I so appreciate, because I think it's really, really important for people to look in the mirror, to see what part they play, if any, or just what more they can do. How maybe they've sat in silence, you know, and there's that saying that if you choose silence in moments of turmoil, you've chosen the side of the oppressors. You know, I don't think I've gotten that quote quite exact, but it was very similar to that. And so, yeah, we have to speak out.
I would say one of the immediate actions you can take is watch films. 13th, Just Mercy. I just watched Harriet, Selma. There's a list you can go on, you can Google. I think every major company is taking on dismantling, or at least they're figuring out. I just saw today, Aunt Jemima is changing their label. Land of Lakes took off their Native American Indian off their label. I think individually, one way in which you can jump in and impact is fund Black Veg Fest is what it's called. You can go to that Instagram or straight to that website, blackvegfest.org, and you can jump on and join their Patreon of Omawale. You can drop down just one solid amount. You can do a monthly. That way you can fund progress, and you can fund moving forward, and you can fund reform, regeneration, renewal,
revolution.
Exactly. We get to partner. And what I say, it's white to white allies, and then the Black people of color, invite us to be their allies. We do not get, I read this somewhere, we do not get to say we are their ally. They get to invite us as their ally. So I'm looking for more allies within the white space, and to create the conversations like we are right here for progress and resources and shift, and to lift the veil and to say, okay, I am not a white supremacist. I definitely own my white privilege, and that I'm not acting privileged by way of hurting someone else on purpose. And yet I don't realize many of the times of which I act and I participate in. So that's what we all get to if we choose to join this journey. And it's uncomfortable, but guess what? We're all going to survive it if we go through it together and we commit to it and we stick to it. Because this is not just a news blip, right? It's not a news blip. How soon is this going to be over? Oh, you know, maybe there's not as many protests or demonstrations. Whew, are we moving on? No, we're not moving on. And I invite y'all to get on board, jump in, it's cold, it's uncomfortable, but guess what? The more we journey, the more we uncover, the layers we get to peel, the layers of which we peel, the more freedom for all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We rise and fall together. And thank you for bringing up the ways that people can like literally make a difference, in tangible ways, because I think so often people think, oh, well, look, they're changing labels, everything's fine, or, oh, the Democrats wore their kente cloths. I mean, it's all symbolism and theater, and that doesn't change anything. That, it looks great in the moment, and, these companies doing their cheerleading and putting out their ads about, unity and race relations. But unless there's systemic changes, unless there's action taken, it's just words. So thank you so much. This is such a great conversation for so many reasons. And I know everybody's going to get something out of it, regardless of whether it's on the vegan end or the, the racism end or both. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Gina. Anytime, Gina.
An awesome, open-hearted person.
Anything for you, Gina, anytime, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you on
Jane, I said hi, and yeah, hope to see you guys all in person again soon.
Definitely. Thank you. I'll see you on the other side.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Paige.
Bye. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching Plants and Politics. The only way to take our country and power back is to spread the truth and build an army. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks again.